All right, I just wanted to talk about how I cut my push rods because there's all kinds of different ways, but I like this way the best. Takes a lot more time, but it's more precision. Here's my push rod measuring tool. And so I took that and I set it against my push rod. You can see that one. This one's been cut. Since the end's a little funny, I put it this way. And I'll line them up. A little easier. Find something flat once to roll away. Anyways, and then I took this thing, push rod end, I lined it up there. It's kind of hard to see, but if you zoom in right there, you can see that they're about even. And then the other thing I did is I took a straight edge and just made sure that they were close. I bumped it, but anyways, you get the idea. You make sure it's close. And I took a razor blade and I matched this spot right here. Hoping you can see that. I marked my tube that had to be cut, and I made it just a hair longer. Just like that. Anyways, so I marked the tube. They're a lot longer when you first get them. If you have ones that need to be cut. See, here's one that has been cut. You can see it was just that much. Needed to be cut off. So you take your razor blade, mark it, you know, use your eyes as close as you can, leave a little bit of a space, mark it real good. Then I take a pipe cutter, line up the notch that I scraped in with the razor blade as close as we could, cut it, and then I took this jig here and I took a piece of sandpaper, put it on a flat surface, and I sanded this down until I had an exact match to my measuring tool. And then to make it a little faster, what I did is I took and I made a jig here with a straight edge. And what I did is I took or a square, sorry, this is a square and a straight edge. So you just make sure that's square, make sure this side's square. And then I took my push rod that was cut perfect. Oh, that's my long one. Here's my one that's cut perfect. So then I set the gap right there. So you can see that that's my gap and it fits nice and tight. And then I take and I trim my other push rod tubes until they're that same length. And like I said, if you cut it a little bit longer, then you find a flat surface with some sandpaper and make sure you go in a circular motion. Here's a little block of wood I cut. So I just hold down the sandpaper and just sand that in a circle like that. Do that a few times, make sure you're nice and flat. You can kind of feel it. The bigger circles you do, the better off you are because you can feel it when you don't want to go crooked. Pop it out of here, and take it over here and I test fit. You can see that that one fits. And just to make it easier, my original one, the first one I made, that fit perfect. I put a black piece of tape around it. That way I know which one's my, see this, I just put a piece of electrical tape on there. And that's my original, that fits perfect, it matches my measuring tool. And then I just slowly sand these other ones. Takes a lot longer, but you get a better precision fit. And a little tip, if you cut them longer, you have a little bit more that you can take off. Obviously, you want to try and get it as close as you can, but if you're too short, then that's worse than being too long. And like I said, just make sure that you keep in mind that this is different. So it's hard to measure against that. And some of these, the wall thickness here is a little skinnier. See, if you look at the measuring tool, that's a pretty thick one. So just take all that into account. You can see even these two. Here's a different one I had. Let's see if you can see that. There we go. You see the thicknesses. Anyways, take all that into account when you're setting up your pushrod tubes against your measuring tool. Like they say, measure twice, cut once. I say measure 3 or 4 times. Mark, measure again, mark, and then cut it with your conduit cutter. Now this won't work on the thicker ones. This is a thicker pushrod. I think it's 5/8, and this is your typical chromoly pushrod right there. I hope this helps someone. The jig is just a piece of plywood with 2 metals, pieces of steel, and then we just, like I said, use our square them up, both sides, and then there you go. Got a measuring tool. All right, guys, happy YouTube time. Thanks, bye.